Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse, where today we are here with Ben Cowan, and we are going to be looking at Bitcoin dubious speculation. Ben, before we go into Bitcoin, before we go into why the next few months at least could be not the best for Bitcoin, where we go over things like the social risk metric, cover why altcoins aren't going up with the Bitcoin dominance and social risk, obviously, and the business cycles, I want to ask you, how are you doing today and how are you enjoying Dubai?
Doing pretty well. I think this is like my fifth or sixth interview today.
Yes.
So it has been a lot, and it's not even the last one.
Yes.
But yeah, I really like Dubai. I've only been here a couple of nights, so I haven't really toured anything yet. But the conference has been fun. It's been great meeting you for the first time in real life.
Thank you.
I also have
Likewise.
met a few other people for the first time in
Like
real life.
Guy from
Yeah, like
Coin
God.
Bureau.
A lot of people are surprised that we've never met because we've been working together for like 3 years, but we have not met before. So yeah, it's been good, and hopefully the next couple of days I can see some of the sites in Dubai, and then after that I'll be going over to Bitcoin Mina.
Bitcoin Meta, which we'll see you guys there too. So it's a pleasure to have you on. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio. I want to jump straight into the Bitcoin charts and talk about Bitcoin. But guys, before we do so, obviously make sure to subscribe and destroy the like button. But make sure to sign up to Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com with code CryptoKid to get your discount on the platform that we're going to be using to conduct the analysis on today. So when we look at the price of Bitcoin, Ben, we're currently sitting at $92,000. Last time we made a video, we mentioned that if Bitcoin was to lose the 50 simple moving average, then it would not be good, because every time that we've historically lost the 50 simple moving average, you entered into essentially a bear market, right? And there's a lot of similarities between last cycle's price action, where we fell below 50, retested, and then went down. I mean, the structure is really, really similar. So maybe we can kick things off with, what do you think is going to happen now? Do we test the 200 daily moving average? Reject? What do you see happening?
Yeah, I think like a lot of times when the bear market starts, you go back to the 50-week. Everyone hopes it holds. It doesn't, and then right when it does not hold, we then get a capitulation down. You can see it not only happened in 2021, you can also see it actually happened in 2017, 2018 as well, where we lost a 50-week,
Yep.
and then a few weeks later we rallied back up to it. So I do think there's a decent chance we'll rally back up to it. It's possible that Bitcoin could go lower first. Like, it's possible that it could sweep the low. There's going to be a lot of comparisons, I think, in this interview as we talk more about it, and how it's more similar to also that 2019 top as well. So I think that's also relevant in the sense of like the 4-year cycle being intact. I think it is, but I also think we're topping on apathy this time. Like, we're not topping because everyone FOMO'd into the top and they're buying altcoins, and
Clearly not.
yeah, we're sort of topping because of a lack of attention to the space.
Which is demonstrated perfectly by the social
Right.
metrics, right? And you can see that if you look at the social metrics, and the red line emphasizes the amount of interest. So obviously, you would know better, but from what I understand from watching your videos, it includes YouTube, Twitter, and all the social medias that people access to search about cryptocurrencies. And you can see that it's right now at the absolute lowest of lows possible, meaning nobody cares. And the fact that nobody cares, it's not led to euphoria. It's not led to altcoins going parabolically. We're still topping because the Bitcoin cycles are intact, the 4-year halving cycles. But social risk sort of being at lows, Bitcoin having done that 1,064 days. Does this mean that it's over for Bitcoin and altcoin season won't happen? How do you see that working out?
I think in the short term, it's going to be very difficult for an alt season to happen. It doesn't mean you can't have new highs by some altcoins. A lot of times, even when the cycle's over and Bitcoin bounces to a lower high, you'll have divergent highs on altcoins on some of them, or they'll go to a higher high. It's not impossible for altcoins to do that. But I don't think we're knocking on the door of an alt season either. And one of the reasons for that is, if you look at the social risk, in general, like when you look at it, like look at 2017 and look at 2021, you can see there was a series of higher lows and higher highs in the social risk that kind of led into the alt season that you had at the end of those years. Whereas we're not really getting that right now. Like, we've had lower highs and lower lows in the social risk.
Correct.
So in order to have an alt season, you have to have more people coming into the space than leaving, right? You have to have an influx of people, because if you don't, you're just having the same money sloshing around that's already there. And, in crypto, there's Bitcoin and then there's everything else, right? And so when you're in a period of like relatively low interest, if you look at like the Bitcoin dominance chart, we've color coded it here by the social risk, right? So when it's blue, like it is right now, and like it was in 2019, when it's generally blue, Bitcoin dominance tends to want to go higher. And the reason is because there's just not enough liquidity coming in to buy altcoins, right? You can print another million altcoins, but the liquidity going into the altcoin market is still the same,
Yes.
right? So it just spreads it thinner and thinner. So I think that's why it makes sense to be bullish on Bitcoin dominance. With quantitative tightening ending and interest rates coming down, we have to be open-minded to Bitcoin dominance potentially topping at some point. But I do think what's the most likely outcome is that as Bitcoin dominance tops out and as it comes back down, a lot of people think that as it goes down, that you have to have an alt season, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at 2019, when dominance really started to drop in mid 2019,
Yep.
From even higher, from after that, if you go higher later in 2019, when it started dropping, it actually dropped because Bitcoin was dropping quicker than altcoins. It wasn't because you had an alt season. And so I think that you could have a scenario where alts rally against Bitcoin in 2026, but it's kind of for the wrong reasons. It's not because of an alt season. It's just because altcoins already got annihilated the last 3 to 4 years. They've already dropped like 90%. A lot of altcoins are actually closer to their 2022 lows than their 2021 highs.
Correct. I mean, if you look at, I think the reason why the total 3 chart is holding up so well is because Ethereum is still like 3x above its all-time lows. Solana went from $8 all the way to 200 and something dollars.
Right.
BNB, but if you look at the rest of the market, it's still at lows, right?
You have a few higher market cap stuff. Ethereum's not included in total 3, but
Sorry,
right. But I mean, in general, you're right. Like you have a few altcoins that are doing well, and also like a lot of newer altcoins have done well. A lot of the ones from last cycle, never really returned to their highs, and probably never will. Right? Some can, but most of them won't. So I think you have to sort of view it through the lens of like, all right, history tells us that when Bitcoin tops out at the end of post-halving years, you have an alt season. But when you look at the social interest, you can see it looks more like 2019 than it does 2017 or 2021 tops. So how do you reconcile that? Well, what you could have is you could have a bear market, but instead of, actually, if you could go to the charts tab, if you go to the charts tab and we scroll down, we can find, I think we can go further down. We can find like the ROI.
Running ROI?
There's a lot of different, no, not the running ROI. We could actually go to the ROI after. There's the bottom, but there's also one from the peak. If you, down and to the right.
Down and to the right. This one, the last peak.
The one to the left, right?
After cycle peak.
Yeah, so if you look at that, go ahead and hide the first one.
Okay.
And then you can zoom in on the chart by just kind of like clicking and highlighting. Yeah, zoom in and just kind of look at the whole bear market. We don't need all that extra all that space on the right, I guess.
How to zoom in?
Just click and drag to the left. Yeah, now drag the other way.
Oh, oops. Okay.
Or you can reset zoom. Yeah, now drag the other way.
Okay, this is like a tutorial for everybody that's signing up into the cryptoverse.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm going to be using more in my videos. So this is how you would be able to do it. Okay, cool.
All right. Okay, now actually you need to reset it again because I want to get the whole bear market
Right from here.
No, from the very start from where you are right now and go left.
And
is what
go
I mean.
left.
Yeah.
All right.
So we can zoom in on the whole thing. Go further left, all the way. Yeah. Now zoom in. Okay. So if you look at the current bear market, you can see it's like that purple line at the top left. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the current theoretical bear market, right? We're not 100% sure it's a bear market. There does exist a chance that Bitcoin,
but it's a small one,
right? I mean, it's at least a small bear market. And so, when you look at a chart like this, it shows you that, hey, so far it looks pretty similar to what we've always seen at the end of post-halving years. You have a top, Bitcoin starts to bleed, people don't accept it, and then the more it bleeds, more people start to accept it.
Correct.
The issue, and I'm not sure, we were working on making this chart live, so I'm not really sure if it's live yet. We can search for it. The issue is when you think back to that social risk chart, we're not at a euphoric peak, right? We're not at a...
Correct.
So like, how do we reconcile that? And so if you go to the search bar, right, on the left hand side, on all the way on the left, you go to search, type in QT. I'm curious if we publish this chart. Yeah, click on that one.
Oh, this is awesome.
So now we're comparing it to the 2019 bear market, not the 2021 or 2017. And I think this is actually the first. I haven't even shared this with.
And the reason is, by the way, because in 2019 you were in, or the 2017 to that cycle. You were in the 2017 cycle. You were in quantitative tightening, right?
Right. But we were peaked on euphoria.
You picked on euphoria. Oh, so this is looking into
This is looking at the only
pre-COVID.
Yeah, this is looking at the only time in history that Bitcoin topped on apathy rather than euphoria like today.
So
and that was in
here,
2019. That
Just
was
for context,
right there.
That's
yeah,
the place.
That's
Okay.
the bear market we're looking at, and the reason we're looking at it is because Bitcoin topped on apathy. And in 2019, it also topped on apathy. And when Bitcoin topped in 2019 on apathy, there was also no alt season.
So right here, you
Right.
didn't
Look at the
have-
on-chain risk.
It's basically the same.
It's the same.
It's the same.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all the same. And so people will ask me, like, where are we in the cycle? In one sense, the 4-year cycle is repeating itself
Yeah.
because we're getting a bear market when we always do.
Correct.
But in another sense, it's happening for a completely different reason than it did in 2017 and 2021. It happened in 2017 and 2021 because we had an alt season, and usually alt seasons are what in bull markets, when capital rotates to the wrong part. When people leave Bitcoin and then they speculate on micro cap alts, you get this alt season, you get all this malinvestment of capital. And when you do that, Bitcoin punishes the market and it goes down for a year and wipes out the altcoins. But in 2019, that's not what happened. Bitcoin just dropped because attention left the cryptoverse. And one of the reasons attention left the cryptoverse, we could speculate on whether it's because of the meme coins, we could speculate all sorts of things. But one of the reasons, I think, is just because of monetary policy. So if you can go back to TradingView, I want you to look at TradingView. Now, can you add another chart on top of the Bitcoin price? I want you to add total assets. If you just search total assets, and you can see that first one, add that to the chart. Now, you see where QT ended last cycle in 2019?
Yes, correct. Here.
Okay, so you see how Bitcoin topped out just before QT ended?
Right here.
Right there.
Oh my
Same thing's
God.
happening now.
my
Bitcoin topped
God.
out just before QT ends.
This is the top for Bitcoin. QT ends, you go down. Bitcoin topped, QT
Exactly.
ended. And then QE will be most likely introduced Q2 of next year.
But the problem is when QE comes, Bitcoin went down when QE started. If you look
Correct.
closely, it wasn't until interest rates dropped a lot and QE went off the charts that Bitcoin then went up again. So we're in the phase right now of it's that 2019 style phase where we're topping on apathy, not euphoria. And when you have that, the bear market is a little bit more bearable, I guess, no pun intended, where you drop, but you're not dropping because retail is panic selling. You're dropping because crypto OGs are just tired of holding Bitcoin at 100K and it not going any higher. Right? People are just giving up. It's time-based capitulation.
It's time-based. So you're saying, okay, so just to sort of summarize all of that, you're saying that yes, from a cycle perspective, we are in fact following everything and we are doing what we should do by topping based off of the 4-year halving cycles.
Right.
But the difference is because we are in apathy, which essentially means that when you look at the social risk, and we can go to our crypto, our indicators, I'm learning real time. We need to search social risk here, I guess, right? Social risk.
Yep.
Social YouTube subscribers.
This is actually one of the charts that shows.
Oh wow! Yeah.
You can see how look at this chart. I'm glad you clicked on this chart. Look at what 2021 looks like compared to today.
Like how long did it take you to go from 50,000 subscribers to, let's say,
I gained 100,000 subscribers in a month at one point.
No way.
Yeah. So it took me 5 months. It took me 6 months to go from 0 to 500. It took me 1 month to go from 500 to 10,000, and then it took me 1 more month, I think, to go from 10,000 to 100,000, approximately.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but you can look at 2021 and you can see why. Like it wasn't just me; it was
everyone.
It was everyone.
Yeah, like Coin Bureau, Altcoin Daily,
Right.
Crypto Banter, you.
Right. And
Everyone.
look at today. And that's why we should not speculate on an alt season right now because no one's here. Like no one's here to buy
Nobody
those bags.
cares.
No one cares. Yeah. So unless you see a major shift, and the problem is you could have a shift, but by the time monetary policy shifts, which it's doing right now, it's time for the bear market for Bitcoin. And just like 2019, we had the bear market back then too. You could have alts rally against Bitcoin, but it's for the wrong reason. And so that's where we are in the cycle. So I kind of view it as 2026 will likely be a bear market. That's already started.
That's already
right?
started.
Like we're already. I mean, the good news, if it is a bear market, we're already 2 months into it.
Correct.
And they typically only last about a year, anyways.
And we can sort of disregard probably the COVID dump.
Right.
And then if you do, like you still like sort of consolidated instead of
you
falling
go
so much.
you go lower. You kind of slightly go lower for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually things could pick back up in the next cycle. But who knows how low it'll go? I've speculated, and I know price predictions are dangerous because no one ever gets it right. But I've speculated that, I would think like if we go back to 60 or 70K,
Mm-hmm.
that seems like a reasonable, like a 50% drop. Because if you look at 2019 and you look at the drop before the pandemic crash, it was still a 50% drop before the pandemic crash, right?
Before the pandemic crash.
From the 2019 top.
Yeah, all the way here.
Yeah, that was about a 50% drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you take 50% from 126K, you're looking at around 60 to 70K.
Correct.
Which, by the way, is also around the prior all-time highs.
Right here, exactly.
Which also, by the way, corresponds roughly to the 200-week moving average, which is where
right
Bitcoin
here.
normally goes in the midterm year.
Exactly.
So I think around 60, it doesn't mean it can't go lower. I'm not saying it can't go to 40 or 50, but I would say like if we're at 60 to 70K by mid 2026, there's going to be some players that start to think, all right, like maybe this is a good price to get in. It's like it's half off from the peak.
Mm-hmm.
If we didn't top on euphoria, you're not necessarily going to have the same type of panic selling from retail because no one bought the top. I mean, like you didn't have a lot of people coming in and buying the top like you normally do that then panic sell at the lows in the bear market, right? You just have
no
people
liquidity.
Yeah, I mean, everyone still in crypto now has been here since 2021 for the most part or earlier. So that's kind of where I think we are right now. I think there will be a rally back up to the 200-day moving average and our 50-week moving average at some point. And my guess is that happens in 2026.
Okay, so you're thinking like mid-January maybe? Because I calculated on average it takes between 40 to 70 days when you break below it to get back up to it.
Right. So generally speaking, yeah, like from the peak, you would expect at least a 2-month drop. So we peaked in October. You would expect Bitcoin to drop for at least 2 months. If you go back and look at last cycle, I think it dropped for 2.5 months before we really started moving again.
So from the peak.
Yeah, how long was it?
That was 76 days.
Yeah, so 2.5 months.
Exactly.
2.5 months, yeah.
Yeah.
So if it takes 76 days from early October, you're essentially looking at like mid to late December.
Exactly. That's 22nd of December.
Exactly. Which is funny because what's really interesting is if you really get into the nitty gritty details of QT in 2019 actually ended in August. But if you look at the balance sheet of the Fed, if you look at the balance sheet of the Fed on TradingView, you overlay the total assets again. What you'll notice is that the total assets, the balance sheet of the Fed did not bottom in August, despite the fact that QT ended in August. If you look at that, you can see when did it bottom? September of 2019.
September of 2019.
The reason it didn't bottom in August, despite QT being over, was because you still had the final batch of Treasury maturities they didn't actually Treasury security. They didn't actually mature until a few weeks after that.
Okay.
So that's why the balance sheet continued to go down. And if you overlay Bitcoin dominance, if you change the ticker to Bitcoin dominance instead of Bitcoin USD, look when Bitcoin dominance topped in 2019. The same day that the balance sheet started to go up.
Oh my God.
Perfectly, right?
So, yes, because September, you said, September, oh my God.
Yeah, so it's perfect. So what's interesting is that what's likely going to happen is the balance sheet is going to keep going down for a few more weeks, even though QT is over.
Yes, and then Bitcoin dominance will top.
And then Bitcoin dominance will spike probably within the next few weeks, is my guess.
Because it's going to spike into it. Okay.
It'll spike into it.
Yeah.
Maybe a higher high, could be a lower high. I don't know for sure.
Okay.
But I think it'll spike into it.
Yes.
And then everyone's gonna, at that point, everyone will be a Bitcoin maxi.
Yes.
Everyone's gonna give up on alts. And then alts start to go up against Bitcoin.
But that doesn't mean altcoin season.
But not because of all season, but it's because Bitcoin starts to drop because it's a bear market.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
And look at this chart. If you go up to look at a new ticker, you gotta use a parentheses.
Okay. For Bitcoin dominance?
No. Parentheses, total 2.
Yeah, total 2.
Minus USDT.
USDT.
Divided by Bitcoin.
Divided by Bitcoin.
All right, look at this chart. All right, and you can remove the balance sheet of the Fed. You can remove all that stuff if you want.
Yes.
I don't think it pulled up the right chart, did it? No, that's not it.
Total 2. Okay, sorry, maybe I put the parentheses wrong. So total 2 minus
USDT.
USDT.
And then all that needs to be in parentheses.
All that needs to
all that.
And then divided by Bitcoin.
And then divided by Bitcoin. Yeah.
So the Bitcoin is the denominator.
Yeah.
Bitcoin. Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
So this chart, usually you see double bottoms by all Bitcoin pairs, right? We had one in June, right?
This was one.
Yeah, but we had one in June.
Yeah. June,
Usually
July.
you get you'll find a low in the summer and you'll find a low in Q4.
Okay.
Sometimes it's Q4 first, but we have one in June, and I'm guessing we're gonna have another one soon.
Yeah, because this was Q4 borderline Q1.
Right.
So then you could do another low here.
Right. Exactly.
And then
it runs.
Again.
Yeah. But again, I mean, I would guess it's going to happen sooner rather than later, but I don't know exactly when. If it's going to play out like last cycle, you would expect it to happen before the balance sheet starts to go up. The only reason it might not, and it might take a little bit longer, is because it's not just the balance sheet, it's also, interest rates. And back then, I don't think we've ever had an alt season where the Fed funds rate was higher than the 2-year yield of the Fed. I don't think we've ever had an alt season. And right now the Fed funds rate is 4%.
Yeah, we can actually check that. So we can go to the 2-year bond, and then we'll make this the last one because I know you have to go. So we have the 2-year, and then we can do total 2 into it.
Or no. You want to look at what do you have? The
2-year treasury.
You have 2-year treasury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you overlay them,
right.
Then what was your theory?
Basically, you don't really have all seasons until the Fed funds rate is below the 2-year yield.
Below the 2-year yield.
Right.
Okay.
So you would want to look at US interest rates minus US 02Y on TradingView.
Interest rates minus
US. So you can just put in US INTR.
Okay. US INTR.
Minus US 02Y.
2Y.
So this is the delta. Now you need to switch it over to regular scale.
Okay.
Because it's going to look, yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you draw a zero line, draw a line at 0. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm treating the 2-year yield as a theoretical neutral rate.
It's genius. Yeah.
Okay. So genius. There, normally, you can see alt seasons happen as the interest rate, as that delta starts to crash. Right, look at total 2. You see that? You see how the total 2 really starts to go up in 2021.
So look here in September 2024. Also, that crashes, and then you see altcoins going up.
Right, but it's only when that delta starts to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you go to the negative.
The final phase of the bull market.
Yeah.
And look at 2017. You remember 2017 was a crazy bull market, and that entire time, the delta was below 0. We were in easing territory. Right, the 2-year yield was. Fed funds rate was below the 2-year yield the entire time in 2017. And that's why 2017 was such a crazy bull market back then too.
So it being below it, what does that mean?
So, okay, think about it like this. When there's this theoretical concept called the neutral rate.
Okay.
The neutral rate is essentially suggesting that whenever the Fed funds rate is above the neutral rate, it means the economy contracts because interest rates are too high, businesses are going out of business. The economy contracts. When the Fed funds rate is below the neutral rate, the economy expands.
And the neutral rate is US INTR minus.
Well, no. The neutral rate is an abstract concept. Some people don't agree that it exists.
Okay.
The neutral rate, in this case, I'm suggesting that the neutral rate is approximately equivalent to the 2-year treasury.
2-year treasury.
Right. So what we're looking at is we looked at interest rates minus the 2-year treasury.
Yeah,
so we're looking at interest rates minus the theoretical neutral rate.
So the treasuries are right now above where the interest rate is.
No, 2-year treasury is below.
It's below. It's the reverse. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but you could argue the 2-year treasury tells the Fed what to do. If you overlay the 2-year treasury with interest rates on the same chart, wherever the 2-year treasury goes, interest rates follow.
Yeah.
So the market, the Fed does not tell the market what to do. The market tells the Fed what to do. So yeah, if you have, so go ahead and you can remove total 2 off this chart too. Now just add on, interest rates.
There you go. Yeah.
So you can see that throughout history, when the 2-year yield, where the 2-year yield goes, the Fed funds rate follows.
Correct, because that's the short-term speculation.
Yeah. So right now, the 2-year yield's telling the Fed they need to cut.
They need to cut.
Yeah. And even if they were to cut 25 basis points, you could still say they're still above the neutral rate. They really need to cut another 50 basis points. right now, but they're not going to, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
But when the next Fed chair comes in mid 2026, like they probably will cut aggressively, and they might cut too aggressively, where they rekindle the animal spirits.
Yeah, where inflation goes bananas.
And inflation goes back up, and then eventually it leads to a big crash. But again, this whole thing could take years to play out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And actually, in the 1990s, if you look at interest rates in the 1990s,
Mm-hmm.
the Fed also cut rates. And back then, after they cut rates, like see and throughout the 1990s, they cut rates.
Mm-hmm.
And then
there was a bear market.
Right, but we didn't get the .com crash until after they raised rates again. You see where they raised rates
again here?
No,
sorry,
yeah, right there. That's where that's what they had to do to kill the animal spirits.
Okay.
So I could foresee a future where they start to cut aggressively in 2026. It rekindles the animal spirits. Inflation goes back up. Bitcoin dominance is going down. Maybe because you have an alt season eventually in 2027 or 2028. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then after all that, people start to see inflation going back up a lot, and then everyone just is like, all right, we have to go into a recession, and that's the only way we're going to actually solve our issues is to allow for lower asset prices.
Well, Ben, I just want to be respectful of your time, because I know you have your NFA live and we can go on forever. But just to summarize everything, I think it's pretty clear that Bitcoin will likely go back to the 200 daily moving average on the short term, get a rejection, continue that consolidation just like what happened in 2019, likely be around 10 to 11 months, you would say?
I think around 12 months from the top.
12 months from the top.
Yeah, so October 2026.
October 2026.
I think people should be open-minded to a low as early as May.
Yeah.
Depending on how big, if there's like a bigger crash, like
Yeah.
let's say Bitcoin crashes to like 50K or something.
Yeah.
Like if it were to crash to like
from now until May.
Yeah, like if Bitcoin were to go to 50K or something by May, then you might have to start thinking, all right, that might be the bottom.
That might be the
But
bottom.
if it's 60 to 70K, it could be, who knows? Like it's hard to say.
But the actual sort of rekindling of the spirit would happen post and from October.
I think it'll be next cycle.
Next cycle.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are hoping it's this cycle, and it's kind of making people believe that it's a super cycle, you know. But in reality, like we have to be like, is it a super cycle?
5 year cycle.
Yeah, I mean, is it like, or is it just the same thing, and people are falling for the same super cycle narrative? And by the time the super cycle people realize that the 4 year cycle is still potentially correct,
Yeah.
and they sell, that could be the bottom.
That could be the
right.
bottom.
And maybe they think it goes on longer, but if it follows 2019 without the pandemic, that could be it.
Yeah.
Especially if they wait until like March or April to sell, there's a chance we bottom in May.
I mean, do you think the ISM will sort of go into expansion next year?
It's tough to say. I mean, I think right now probably not, because we're still in restrictive territory.
Yeah.
But by when a new Fed chair comes in, it's possible. But you have to remember too, like it takes a while for lower interest rates to really propagate through the economy.
It
like
takes
you can't
half a year to a year.
Yeah, like you can't just lower rates and expect the ISM is going to immediately respond. I mean, it still might be responding to the rate cuts from last year, right? We haven't even been a year from the December rate cut from 2024. So yeah, like I do think, I mean, the ISM is really, really low. Will it probably go back up in the next few years? Absolutely.
Okay.
But again, will it happen before this cycle's over? Probably not.
So I think just the next 1.5 years is a good time to be dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin, and then altcoins would, I guess, need that confirmation a bit more to say, hey, it's time to accumulate on altcoins. But for the next 1.5 years, I would say, and I don't know if you agree, it would be a good time to DC into Bitcoin.
I mean, I think generally DCing is the best strategy, because truly no one can time the market perfectly.
Yeah.
I think if we see lower prices in May, October of 2026, I think that'll probably be a really good time to get in. And who knows, like people will say this time's different and we're going to have something else, but it'll probably just be the same thing where it feels like it's over and it's never coming back, and then it just comes back again.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ben. Thank you so much for coming on. Again, we can talk about for hours, but it's just I want to be respectful of your time. So thank you so much. You've honored me by coming to the studio. It's been a fantastic past 2 days together at Binance Blockchain Week. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon on the next video. Take care. And as always, bye.